Good evening, you're watching The Last Word. I'm Sanjana Chauhan. Tonight, an extremely important yet unforgotten issue. 63,000 children went missing in 2017. That's over 5,000 children missing every month. These are the staggering numbers released by the National Crime Records Bureau that are showing a distressing trend when it comes to crimes against children. But today we're attempting to highlight, emphasize and discuss and understand the dark underbelly of Indian crime that no one talks about. India's missing children. Why aren't we talking about it? Just today, a funeral procession of a 42-year-old man who committed suicide after the police allegedly failed to locate his missing daughter took a violent turn in Mumbai's Chembur after people resorted to stone pelting. The horror of child lifting, kidnapping, trafficking, abduction and economic hardship around these missing children is real, and as these numbers show, are only getting worse. Let me quickly introduce my guests tonight, this evening. I have Preeti Mahara, Director of Policy, Advocacy and Research of CRI, that's Child Rights and News, Sancheta Raju, spokesperson of the BJP, Namrata Jetli, Director, Program and Policy Implementation of Save the Children, and Dr. Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, and Shashank Shekhar, Advocate, Supreme Court and former member, Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Preeti Mahara, 5,000 children, over 5,000 children have gone missing every month in 2017. That's over 170 children in a day. These are perhaps not even half of the real picture. Have we forgotten India's missing children?
Yeah, it seems so, because figures are telling the same narrative. It's not only about children. The overall crime against children, the rate has increased 20 times, and the crime against children has increased 200% more than what was reported earlier. And earlier also in 2016, the percentage of kidnapping and abduction was 49%, and this time it is again 42%. And we all know that most of the children are missing children in the kidnapping and the abduction incidents, and only half of the missing children, according to the Ministry of Home Affairs, only half of the children are being traced. So definitely this is an alarming situation. These are alarming figures, and somewhere we are, as a system, as civil society, as every individual, somewhere we are failing our children.
Okay, Shashank Shekhar, could it be that this rise in numbers could also be due to the fact that perhaps there is more awareness about the issue with a higher number of people reporting it?
No, it's not that. People are reporting the cases of missing children. The reports are coming to the police.
Okay.
But we have to see whether proper action is being taken by the police or not. First thing is that. And the other very important point is that the whole process of investigation related to missing children has become a complicated issue. A police officer has to do so many things before actually starting an investigation. And that makes a deterring effect also. Because of that, they don't want to file an FIR, which they are supposed to do under the instructions of Honorable Supreme Court. And for that, they neglect the filing of for that purpose, they neglect the filing of the FIR, and hence, little number of cases are left behind. They have to take certain actions. We do have a long-term plan of investigation of missing children, but we don't have a short-term plan relating to investigation of missing children. Because as soon as a child goes on missing, we need to find out as early as possible. Let us talk about the issue related to Delhi. What is the figure in Delhi? Most of the figure in Delhi is coming from the outer districts, peripheral districts of Delhi, from where the children can be taken out of Delhi police jurisdiction very soon. Within half an hour, the children are out of Delhi police jurisdiction. So we need to have certain plan and formula as to what to be done within half an hour, or say 1 hour or 2 hours. In spite of going for all hue and cry notice and everything, we need to have certain mechanism which should react as early as possible, preferably within an hour of the child going missing.
Okay. Okay. Namrata Jetli, missing children, let's try and understand. These
Yeah.
cases are shedding light on a host of problems. So we've got abductions, kidnapping by family members, abduction and kidnappings carried out by non-family members or strangers, children who run away on their own, forced to run away because of compelling circumstances, economic hardships in their families, in their extended surroundings. It also includes children who are trafficked or smuggled or exploited for various purposes. So there are some complexities even behind these statistics that we need to pay attention to, and that's not happening.
No, what actually
Yes,
what
I
you are very
agree
hello.
that the
You are very
problem
correct.
is
Mr. Shekhar, I'm going to come back
the
to you. My
problem.
question is to Namrata. Go ahead, Namrata.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this is a very complex problem. In terms of missing children, the problem is much more complex. And like you very rightly said, there are a lot of underlined, components behind it, which includes the socioeconomic status of the children who are missing, which also includes this whole focus on, community-based preventive mechanisms. Because a lot of issue has been done in terms of focusing more on once the child is missing. But what do we do to ensure that, within vulnerable families, there are community support systems which ensures that one is, the children are protected. And if they are missing, there are quick mechanisms where the reporting can be done in a quick manner and redressals can be done in a very effective manner. What is also very important, if you see in terms of the integrated child protection scheme, there have been mechanisms which have been placed at the community level in terms of child protection, committees. Unfortunately, what is really lacking is that there needs to be much more trained workforces, within the ICPS scheme, so that the village level protection and prevention mechanisms are strengthened. So once, if we can bridge that gap in terms of, then I think there is a lot one can do in terms of really addressing this problem, which, as you see, is being enhanced year by year, and the numbers are rising, which is very, very unfortunate.
Okay, so then let's try and understand. Let me understand what is it that the states and perhaps police officials are not doing. Vikram Singh, this data could also be considered the nemesis of mob lynching incidents over child lifting suspicions in the country. Primarily also since the region has a higher rate of children going missing for 1 lakh population than the other states of India.
You're very right, Sanjana. This is a very scary situation, and one thing is leading to the other. One, Mr. Shashank Shekhar has a very pertinent point, and there's a lot of merit in what he said, that the police generally avoid registering these FIRs for one reason, that there's a particular escape route, and that is known as Daryaft Hal, instead of lodging an FIR. And I would like to enlighten all the panelists that the Daryaft Hal is not an FIR. It is a facade of lodging a complaint. It does not lead to a legal and a legal, ultimately to a legal final disposition. Now, if you lodge an FIR, there's an 11-point checklist which the police is supposed to do, and it is best avoided. Now, what the police can do, apart from the lookout notices you very rightly mentioned, that child lifting leads to human trafficking, beggary, organ pilferage, and whatnot, and organ mutilation too. Now, if this be the case, has there been any success story? I dare say that there have been only 3 success stories that I know of, and that too in the NCR area. For Mr. Shashank Shekhar, I would like to inform him that Delhi too has its share of malpractices. You have the GB road, you have the beggars stalking almost all the crossings of Delhi. As those of us who live in Delhi would know, that children that are mutilated and subjected to beggary are there at every crossroad. But yes, child lifting, for the first point, that all the cases leading to Daryaft Hal are not actually registered, therefore they would not figure in the NCRB list. 2, the number of recoveries is a very small percentage of the actual number of children abducted. And the cases, as you very rightly, Mr. Sanjana, where there are mob lynchings pertaining to suspicion or real cases of child lifting are indeed a problem, and the police and the law enforcement agencies now need to put their act together and have a roadmap, and actually based on facts, and actually an action plan that is based on facts, figures, and the best technology and the best brains, so that you actually have an action plan how to work it out.
True, but Vikram Singh, it's very rare. It's very rare that actually there is a link that is drawn, because Sancheta Raju, you know, the BJP states are featuring pretty high up here for kidnapping and abduction of children. So can't really say the states are doing enough to protect India's children, can we?
No, I think for a moment we should take politics out of this.
No, we cannot.
The right or the left, whichever political
I don't
party.
think we can, Sancheta, because honestly, I mean, I have seen BJP leaders make the most absurd and bizarre defenses for instances of mob violence in the country, when actually it has been proven. We have the numbers up on our screens, and this is, as I've been saying, just half of the sorry picture of the state of this country with regards to protecting India's children. Politics does in fact come in, because for how long can leaders say that it is not linked to, you know, these rumors, that it is not linked to weak police forces?
Kanchana, I understand your question. Let me just complete my answer and then you can come back with the counter. Now, what I was trying to say was that we've all looked at the report and the numbers that have come out. I'm not shirking responsibility. I agree with you. Many of the states are where BJP is in power. This is a very important issue that we're very concerned about. This is a problem that we've been dealing with as a country for the longest time. And I'm sure you will agree with me that when you have a law in place, the government's job is to ensure that the number of crimes are less, but also create a framework where people have faith in the legal mechanisms that are available for them to come forward and report a crime. The fact is the law is active and people are coming out and speaking up. That is very, very important, because given our social construct, what invariably happens when it's a crime against women or children, we like to push that under the carpet, because the report itself confirms that over 80% of the crimes that take place very often are by perpetrators who are known to the victim or the victim's family. So this is a step that is taken. I'm not saying that this problem is solved. We have recently in the monsoon session amended the POSCO Act. There have been 5 major amendments that have come in. We have got this passed almost unanimously with political support across all. As far as missing children are concerned, some things that are there are, number one, you have to immediately register and that. I agree with you that it is not a very easy task, and there are cases where that doesn't happen. Just 2 days ago, our Home Minister very clearly said that we need to overhaul the ICC. This is a colonial legacy that we're dealing with, where the relationship of that of a master and a servant. Now, the police is not our master. The police is supposed to be our protector, serve us, serve the people. So I agree with you that certain changes in the matter that should not be politicized, is what I was trying to say. Responsibility. I take responsibility. This is something that we are very concerned about.
Okay, we seem to be having some audio problem there with Sancheta, but Vikram Singh, really quickly, I think you want to respond to what Sancheta has said so far.
Yes, of course, I would say that the flaws that Sancheta ji has mentioned, I would say that, yes, I wish I could contradict her. But there is no way that I can contradict her. There is a lot that the police can do and needs to do to at least not only restore the confidence and at least make an honest effort to bring the children who have been abducted, to bring them back to their families, at least have a database. The least you can do, the thing that are perfectly doable, and the job of any police force is to have a database of professional abductors and traffickers. Do we have that? No. Do we have any data sharing mechanism, or do we have, as Mr. Shashank Shekhar ji had mentioned, if there is an abduction happening, can there be a hot pursuit, an interstate hot pursuit? No. And if these 3 are no's, I don't think that we are really serious about recovery of the abducted children. These need to be put into perspective and bring the investigation on track and on rails. There is no professional input, because in the police, I'm sorry to say, but in the police scheme of things, abduction of children would not be even at the level of bank robberies or mass murders or lynchings. It comes very, very low in the police priority.
Right.
And having said that, I would say it needs to be scaled upwards and brought to be given the topmost priority which it richly deserves.
Right. So, Preeti Mahara, the Supreme Court actually mandates, even as Shashank Shekhar did in fact mention, that the police actually register an FIR of kidnapping when they receive this missing child complaint. But what we're seeing is that there's a huge hesitation And that has actually been, explained by all our panelists here. There's a huge hesitation on the part of the police to investigate these cases in right earnest and consequently even lodge an FIR under relevant sections.
Yes, so we need to actually focus on the capacity building of our and sensitization and awareness of the statutory bodies, of the police, of the child welfare committees, or whoever is engaged in the entire process of taking care of children in this. In reporting or rehabilitation. What I want to focus here, Sanjana, is again we are talking about the response. When the child is already missing or is being kidnapped or is being abducted. The very important thing here is we are still not talking about how to prevent children falling out of the safety net, so that so for that we need to have are we identifying vulnerable families, are we identifying vulnerable children or at-risk families or at-risk children, so that we have a information or data in place. Namrata also pointed out we need to work with the community-based, village-based, slum-based protection committees, where they can play a major role. The PRIs can play a major role in identifying at-risk families and at-risk children, so that they can be put in education system. They can be linked with the welfare, social welfare or protection schemes or entitlements so that this can be a major breakthrough in taking down the numbers. When we always talk about the response mechanism, we don't talk about the prevention strategies, so that children don't fall out of the safety net. This is where actually, and similarly, when we talk about the budget, talk about the prevention strategy, we need to talk about the budgetary allocations.
Right.
We have been seeing that in the social, in the social sector or in the children-related issues, the budget is continuously either decreasing or it is stagnant. In protection there is a slight increase, but it is negligible. Right?
Okay.
So,
okay, so Shashank Shekhar, let's try and understand.
We need to have capacity building in place. We need to have budgets.
Okay. So I understand that budgets is a problem, but Shashank Shekhar, let me try and understand really quickly over here what's exactly happening today, because when the police isn't responsive to the complaints of missing children, it appears now that the people are now turning to social media, taking matters into their own hands. Most of the cases of mob lynching of people suspected to be child lifters have happened in places from where the child has gone missing, and the police have not acted positively on the missing complaint. So how come the states are not attempting to get to the root of that problem?
The question is, how sensitized are we with the government, with the police, about the issue of missing children? You very rightly said that this is a complex issue. So many aspects are related to it. Okay, one is the home atmosphere, the atmosphere in which the child is living, whether it is congenial or not, whether the child wants to pursue his education, up to what extent he wants to pursue his education, what do he want to study. The whole thing related to right to participation of a child in his or her daily life has been jeopardized in our society. A child has no right to participate, actually. Although this is one of the basic rights of a child to participate in a matter related to the child. We don't have the time. The family members don't have the time. We don't talk to our children as to what they are facing right now. Even if we talk to our children even for an hour a day, we could know about two very important things. One, who is the person who is approaching the child, and who is the person who is trying to have bad touch or bad touch relating to a child. These two issues can be shared by a child with his family members, with his parents. And now that we don't know about what is happening to the child during his school time or in the daytime, We don't know anything as to what is going to happen with the child. If we allow them some time of participation, we could minimize the things. One of the very important aspect is related to the child going missing, because the child will be sharing his problem with the parents. We don't allow the child to share his or her problem with the parents or someone with whom he has a confidence in the person. So this is the first aspect, social aspect, which is related to it. Another very important aspect is the number of child going missing is rising every year. It's not a new issue. In Delhi, it has raised by 48% or so in 2017.
Right.
Do we have law? Do we have a legal mechanism in place? It is for the first time that in the 2016 JJ model rules, we introduced a rule relating to inquiry related to a missing child. It is in the rules only, it is not in the act even. We should have, but I must say that we should have an act related to missing children in India.
Okay, so really quickly,
and
I'm just going to bring in Namrata, because she's been wanting to say
which is
something
being
for quite some
Just,
time.
yeah.
Go ahead, Namrata, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just in building with, you know, the legislative support for really looking at the whole issue of missing children. There is this trafficking of persons, you know, prevention, protection and rehabilitation bill, which still needs to be passed in the parliament. And that bill has certain components which are very, very critical. And if, you know, which really look at this whole focus of having a better coordinated mechanism and really looking at focusing on, you know, rehabilitation of children, but also protection. So while there are certain nuances in the bill which need to be, you know, tailored to ensure that it is effective in really looking at the missing children's component, but as civil society organizations, we would be very interested to see that the bill gets, you know, in consultation with the feedback which gets received from civil society organizations, the bill gets tabled and passed so that at least there is a comprehensive, you know, act which looks at trafficking of children, because that, I agree, is an issue which really requires the policy makers, you know, the community, the family, the media, even the corporates. It really requires multi-stakeholder engagement to be able to address that component. So I would just like to table that suggestion also.
Okay, but I'm just going to try and understand once again with regards to the police, because Vikram Singh, you know, let's just for a moment take the Nithari case. The police clearly failed to take action despite being informed about so many children missing. That was in 2006. We are in 2019. These figures are from 2017. So what are our state governments and police doing so wrong?
Sanjana, unfortunately, not much has changed since 2006. I wish again I could say and contradict what you are saying, but I'm not in a position to contradict that. Now, legislative backup and support is very imperative, but the bottom line is, and the critical point, and what you say is the weakest point, is the police inability to understand the enormity of the problem. The first step, if I were you, I would say the most important is sensitize the police station level staff, sensitize the police leadership, and then, as the learned esteemed panelist had said, please reinforce the Mohalla Defence Societies, the slum defence societies and the locality defence societies, because they are indeed the backbone of all the security measures. Even if the police fail once in a while, if the Mohalla Defence Society, because they're the prime stakeholders, they would be able to reinforce the effort and would have a doubling effect as far as police response is concerned. The police will not be, going slow or marking time on their own. The slum development society, the village defence societies would instill a fear in the police department that this is what you're supposed to do. Jolly well register a case, go in hot pursuit, send lookout notices, alert the border police stations, and this is what you're expected to do. I wish there is a working relationship between the village defence society, the slum defence societies and the local police station. Nothing, unfortunately, like this exists, Sanjana, and this is the whole tragedy, that it is a knee-jerk reaction. There was a success story in Ghaziabad, there was a success story in, but they do not help us to overcome the problem. These success stories are just microscopic in nature and they have not been replicated, unfortunately. What
Right,
we need to do
absolutely.
is
And
to
these
have an
success
action
stories
plan,
also
a
are
white
not
paper.
particularly.
This everything has to be.
The success stories are not particularly relevant to the number of children missing as well, because I think in 2016 the numbers that we actually had were at least close to 1,11,000 children that were still missing for an entire year. So, Namrata Jaitley, where's the missing link? Because on ground, do the child welfare bodies and police perhaps need to have better coordination? What is the reality? What essentially happens with regards to child welfare agencies speaking to the police, coordinating on things like this? Is there some kind of friction happening there?
No, I agree. I would not say friction, but I would just say that there is a requirement for a more coordinated, mechanism where the organizations which are working on prevention, the organizations which are working on actually, addressal of the issues, the police, there is supposed, even the judiciary, there's supposed to be a more better coordinated mechanism. And in our work at Save the Children, we have worked very closely, with police departments, sensitizing them on components related to child rights, really looking at how, how more effective coordination mechanisms can be strengthened. Because, and that's why I said that, any legislation which really can look at the issue of trafficking of children requires that more effective, mechanisms are developed at each level, from the local to the the district, to the state, and also at the national level, so that different parties who are engaged in this particular process talk to each other, understand each other's perspective. And it's very, very important that, as one of the panelists mentioned about children's participation, how can children also be more aware, this whole component of how can they be more aware about their own safety provisions, how can they be also aware about who to reach out to if they kind of understand that there is a risk component, how can they be aware of the other child welfare institutions and helplines. So those are all components, I think, which would work, because individually each of the actors are trying to do their best. But if we come together, I think there is a lot more effort and synergy which can be generated to be able to address this problem.
Right, but that's not happening, because as Vikram Singh rightly said, not much has changed since 2006. We're seeing really horrific incidents coming to light every day. I'm going to open it up to some callers who are joining us this evening. We have Joseph joining us from Chennai. Good evening. Thank you so much for speaking with us on Mirror Now. Go ahead, Joseph.
Yes, good evening. I've been hearing about this child trafficking for many, many, many years. And the problem lies entirely with the police and the state, because they do not recognize the problem. If they had recognized the problem, this would not happen. And it's because these children are trafficked and end up being, beggars, or, making money for the racket, which does not help anybody. So the police and the state has to recognize the problem, stop it. They are the only people who can stop it.
Okay, Joseph, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Sancheta, something that, perhaps a lot of viewers, a lot of citizens in India also are perhaps recognizing, and something that I think Namrata and Preeti both have been raising, is that the state governments also need to realize and recognize the actual problem here, as opposed to, applying band-aid solutions.
I agree with you when you say that state governments have to recognize this as a very important problem that needs to be
say that the state governments aren't doing anything to address this. And I'm not going to talk about BJP versus other states. I can speak for most state governments. Even if you are not part of the BJP, I don't think any political party or any government wants children to go missing. We want to do what is in the public good. Now, having said that, the fact is, you talked about awareness. Just now, we have launched a campaign with UNICEF, with getting in some Bollywood stars and celebrities, to talk about all the various legal measures that are available, so that the very last child gets to know what are the provisions available for them, and their families who are the most vulnerable are reached. Because prevention is equally important. There are cases where the crime has already taken place, where you need to ensure that the FIR is lodged, and then the due process of law takes over. There we are very clear police reforms are required. We've even talked about reforming the entire IPC. As far as awareness is concerned, like I said, we are reaching out to people who are of public eminence, who have a voice, to talk about the various provisions that are there. I feel that we have a number of laws that are already there which can be used and exercised. What we need is stronger implementation, which is what we are working on as a government, along with all our state governments, because like you correctly said, law and order is a state subject, but this is not about politics. You can lean to the left, the right, or be part of the center. This is something that's priority for all of us because it's about the future of the nation and the young women and children who are often the most vulnerable.
So, Shashank Shekhar, with regards to legalities and laws, what exactly needs to be strengthened? What needs to be implemented? What needs to be executed? Because there was a recommendation that India should actually strengthen its traffic laws. So, does that actually, help the cause? Is it the need of the hour?
Sanjana, let me talk to you about the legal provisions. Right now under IPC, we have section 370, which has been introduced, which talks of trafficking. Okay, so trafficking has been covered under section 370 IPC, but we need to have a comprehensive law as far as the trafficking is concerned first. Other thing is, we have a law called Juvenile Justice Act. Okay, Juvenile Justice Act provides for a special juvenile police unit. And in each police station, there shall be at least one police officer who should be known as child welfare officer or juvenile welfare officer. What about these officers? Are they actually working? They are investigating many other cases, including the cases related to children. They don't have the time to deal with matters related to children, and children, as it is, as Sir has also said, is quite low in the priority of the police. Another very important aspect is there are different stakeholders, those who have to deal with the issue of a missing children or abuse of a child. That includes Child Welfare Committee, Juvenile Police Officer, District Child Protection Unit, State Child Protection System, and Village and Level Child Protection Units and Child Protection System. The question is, are they working in tandem? Are they working like a team? My personal experience says no. They are not working as a team. Either they are working in isolation or they are working in confrontation with each other. Police has grudges with CWC, CWC has grudges with District Child Protection Unit, Child Protection Unit has grudges with some other stakeholders. It is the way they have been working. They will have to synthesize a teamwork to work with a goal, with an aim to serve to the best interest of a child, whatever type of crime may be. We are talking of missing children, but it's also related to POXO-related crimes and other physical crimes related to children. So the whole system which we have created for child protection, that has to synthesize. They have to work in coordination with each other, and they have been provided a role under the Act. Are they doing those things? Are they really pursuing the essence of the Act? I don't feel so.
Doesn't appear so. Sancheta, you wanted to respond to that. I can see Sancheta. Go ahead, Sancheta.
They don't have the soul in doing these things.
I'm not in Delhi right now. I'm traveling somewhere and I've joined you via Skype. This is what technology does. Technology helps us overcome what are conventional barriers. Now, technology is something that we are also using to leverage to ensure that there's better coordination between multiple investigating authorities. I agree with you that that is the problem. We recognize the challenge that
because you will agree with me that when children are trafficked, it's often that they go across from one state into the other and sometimes even cross the borders. So that's where sharing of information becomes very important. We have looked at much better coordination, sharing of intelligence inputs from multiple agencies. I agree with you that this is very important. This is already being done. Now, results don't come overnight. I'm sure you'll agree with me. And I agree with you, and I concede the numbers that have been reported have gone up. But I think you'll agree with me that when people are coming out and speaking up, they believe that this law is active and they can find redressal within the framework that is available. So that, I think, is something that we should all encourage. We have to encourage people to come out and talk and complain, because all these crimes go unreported. We don't want that to happen. If we start to disincentivize for the police force, saying that the number of cases that have come out have gone up and that's going to be red flagged against you, that is when the police again starts to resist filing of FIRs. So we have to look at this holistically. I agree with you. Even if there's one child that goes missing, that's one child too many. But please, let's understand, we have to create a framework where everybody is having the confidence to come out and report crimes, because that is very, very important in solving the crime and ensuring that we have a better society for all of us to live in.
Right, but it appears that doesn't have, that's not really changed, because I mean, look at what happened today. I just take you through what happened today in Chembur. This young girl's father, she's been missing. Her father eventually committed suicide, allegedly because of police inaction. He was turned away by the police several times. So, although there is, of course, comfort by the parents in coming out and desperately looking for their child, more often than not, they're turned away because the police will tell them, koi baat nahi, ghar se bhag gayi hogi. Girls between 12 and 18 account for a huge percentage of children reported as kidnapping, but with one caveat: a lot of sometimes romantic relationships are written off by the parents as kidnapping. Namrata, I'm going to come to you really quickly. You wanted to respond. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, highlight 2-3 things which is very important when we're having a debate or on the missing children. One is the importance of data. The fact that we're having this debate and the fact that we have the NCRB 2017 data, which is disaggregated to a large extent, where you do have, data of girls, boys, as well as transgenders when in terms of missing children. I think that's a very important component, and we need to emphasize that, the timely availability of data. And I agree that data is important, so we should not disincentivize, the police officials on filing of FIRs, because it's important to understand what the real situation is. So the importance of data, importance of technology, again, I want to reinforce that how can we use technology effectively to be able to rehabilitate children, because that becomes very, very critical, and rehabilitate children back to their families rather than putting them in homes and shelters, but ensuring that there is better cross-border coordination between states and civil society organizations engagement, so that the children are taken back in a more effective manner back to their families. So technology. And third is again re-emphasizing this whole focus on emphasis on child protection. It is very, very important that whether it is budgets or whether it is also this emphasis of strengthening the child protection mechanism, especially like I said, the ICPS scheme is there, strengthening the workforce so that they can also ensure that they deliver their work effectively, because there's a lot more which needs to be done to be able to ensure that child protection is given as much importance as this whole component of children's health and education, which are also critical. But somehow this whole emphasis on child protection gets subsumed under other child rights components.
Absolutely.
So just wanted to reinforce that.
Okay. So let me quickly bring in a caller right now. We have Surya Narayanan joining us from Chennai. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sanjana. First of all, I'm congratulating you for taking up this social cause in media. See, this child trafficking is the biggest offense in the society. First of all, we can pinpoint so many reasons for this type of crime. There is no accountability on the part of law enforcing agencies like police force, because 63,000 children are missing in a year will happen only in the war zones. India is not in war zone, but of course we are in the war against the social evil. Two, see, in most of the trafficking is happening because of these street children and the children of the criminals. So there is there's no NGOs are taking care of criminal children and all. Thirdly, there is in India, mostly in some of the cities like Chennai, CCTVs are to be fixed. If we are able to fix one CCTV in one street, we can easily catch the traffickers and we can make them. See, these are the crimes which should be contained, and the court should appoint a special judge in every state. The law enforcing authorities should give accountability for this, because
Okay.
Delhi, it seems, Delhi is the highest number of 5,859. It is a social crime, and we should also think of, now Narendra Modi should take care in suspending more welfare.
Okay. Surya Narayanan from Chennai making a pertinent issue there, of course, voicing what a lot of India is thinking. But let me just quickly understand, Namrata, you were talking about, extremely pertinent issue about homes and shelters, about focusing on better rehabilitation. I wanted to actually throw that question to Preeti. Preeti, do we actually need to focus on also having better rehabilitation? Because let's remember that while a lot of times there are success stories, as Vikram Singh rightly pointed out, what follows up after that may actually make the problem worse, as opposed to rehabilitating or ensuring that child's psychological state is back to normal.
Yes, so Sanjana, I earlier also focused on this thing. Is somewhere our entire response, be it budgetary allocations or be it the redressal of the situation, it is mostly focused on the knee-jerk reactions and children who are already are kidnapped or are abducted, but our focus is not on prevention, and similarly our focus is not on rehabilitation or reintegration, because kidnapping and abduction, we need to understand, it is just not related, just not confined to interstate. It can be inter-country also, and we cannot see missing children issue as a standalone issue, because children being kidnapped or abducted, it can be for trafficking, for commercial sex work, for child labor, for forced marriages. So it is actually a complicated issue. Then it becomes very, very important, not only when you have rescued a child from a particular setup, for whatever reason the child has been kidnapped or abducted or was missing, but when you are rehabilitating the child in the family and in the society, then you will have to then link the family if the family is vulnerable, because the chances of the child falling again from the safety net becomes manifold, increases. So we need to link the family with the social protection and welfare schemes. We need to mainstream the child in the education setup. We need to, if we have, not only related to family and the children, it is also about protection of the witnesses, of the whistleblowers. Somewhere, these mechanisms are missing when we talk about rehabilitation and reintegration or mainstream of children and their families. We cannot take out children from their families.
Right, because
So
it appears especially in
strengthen
India, because we're seeing a lot of cases where the rehabilitation is actually a lot worse. I mean, I don't think I need to stress more about the kind of horrific incidents that have come to light with regards to the shelter homes across the country. I don't need to stress on the fact that, there are rapes that have taken place, there is flesh trade that happens, there is further trafficking that happens at these shelter homes, there are arms that are kept over there, there are murders that have taken place.
Anyhow.
So Vikram Singh, I mean, do we really need to also widen the net when it comes to police investigations, when it comes to the police force actually picking up, say, at a crowded railway station, at adoption agencies, at supposedly these shelter homes that are aiming to provide rehabilitation but are doing really the opposite.
Very true, Sanjana. There are sumptuous takeaways in this program, and you rightly mentioned that what has happened in Muzaffarpur shelter homes is an eye-opener and has shocked the conscience of the nation. Now, the takeaway is that the police need to put their act together. One, the priority level should be enhanced and scaled up. Number two, there should be a standard operating procedure all over the country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from West Bengal right up to Rajasthan, that there should be standard operating procedure in respect of missing children and abduction. The third is education. As Mr. Shashank Shekhar mentioned, education of the child. What should the child do in a moment of distress, and also be educated what to do in case of when the child is cornered, and also about the bad touch. Now, the coordination between the various stakeholders is so important. Going to the bus stations, when you talk to the children who are picked up, I am no better in a shelter home or at my own home. The home is almost like an orphanage itself. What I get at home is also being given at the orphanage or the shelter homes. There has to be an all-round and a cumulative and a collective effort and a holistic approach to the whole problem. The police is a major important stakeholder, and I would begin with the police, that their professional capabilities need to be enhanced, and force multipliers like technology have to be added as a part of police law and order arrangements, and also part of their investigations and forensic evaluations too.
Okay, thank you so much to my panel. This evening, close to 170 children missing in one day. These are the staggering figures that have been pulled up in 2017. But what we're gathering from this evening is that we need better communication. We need better coordination. These staggering numbers are telling the unfortunate story of India's youngest. Children are missing, they're abducted, they're kidnapped, they're smuggled, they're forced into flesh trade, but nothing is done because of shoddy investigation and hesitation, and sometimes even bickering between agencies and the police. But have we forgotten to recognize the real problem? Are we too consumed in looking for short-term solutions instead of focusing on law enforcement, stronger implementation, and better rehabilitation for our country's youngest? Let's think about that. Thank you so much for watching.
Driven by Hyundai Grand i10 Nios. Feel alive.
Inspired by Haier. No noise, only performance. Haier direct motion technology.
कुर्ता पजामा पहनकर स्टाइल से दिवाली नहीं मनाई तो क्या किया?
सर, नई कार ली।
नाइस।
स्मार्ट डील्स ऑन व्हील्स चल रहा है ना?
अच्छा।
4th ईयर एक्सटेंडेड वारंटी विद RSA मिला और कैश बेनिफिट विद पिक एक्सचेंज ऑफर।
लेकिन ली कौन सी?
Hyundai।
मुझे क्यों नहीं बताया?
Presenting Hyundai Smart Deals on Wheels. Smart Deals पाओ, ज़्यादा खुशियाँ मनाओ।
क्या है क्या इसमें?
इसमें इधर बताया था, इसमें 5000 पुराने गाने, वो भी ना किसी ऐड या इंटरनेट के। मुकेश, आशा, जगजीत सिंह। मीनू जी ने पहले हाय बोला।
Whatever we do, it's trending. MRF Zappa, always trending.
The wheels in motion, we set the fire. You know it's going down. We wanna be legends. We wanna build the stars. We wanna be heroes. Don't you know?
To avail Movies Now, MNX, and Ramadi Now at just 10 rupees, call your cable operator or DTH operator right now.
All those days, watching from the windows, standing here, it's all so clear.
This Diwali, buy any Vivo phone for just 101 rupees.
कहते हैं कि जिसने बचाना सीख लिया उसने जीना सीख लिया। अब बताइए, बिना मतलब वेस्टेज क्यों? सुबह सुबह बल्ब जले क्यों? यहाँ मायने हैं मिनट मिनट के, रखते हैं ध्यान एक एक यूनिट के। हमारी इस बचत की आदत को पॉलीकैब खूब समझता है, इसलिए पॉलीकैब ग्रीन वायर बिजली बचाता है और पर्यावरण भी। पॉलीकैब, कनेक्शन बचत का, कनेक्शन जिंदगी का।
Have a dream Diwali with Peps. Get gifts worth up to rupees 22,000 free at your nearest Pep store. Peps, the dream makers.
Higher Inspired Living.
Welcome back. A wife of a Congress MP from Kerala has landed in a major controversy with her insensitive rape analogy. Now, in a Facebook post, which has now been taken down, the wife of the Congress MP wrote, "Fate is like rape. If you can't resist it, then try to enjoy it," along with 2 videos of waterlogging in front of their house in Kochi and her husband, Hebe Eden, even eating an ice cream. Her attempt at poking fun at the flooded situation and a serious issue like rape has created an outrage on social media. Now, the post was put up on Facebook on Monday and was taken down this morning after widespread criticism on different social media platforms. And my colleague Vivek now joining me on the phone line with more. Vivek, we understand the wife of this Congress MP has later issued an apology in another Facebook post and said that she was not trying to hurt the sentiments of any woman who has faced the trauma of the abuse.
Exactly. This shows the callous, insensitive mindset of these people, especially of the wife of an MP, the Ernakulam MP, Hebe Eden, Anna Linda Eden, who exactly posted this Facebook post yesterday that is referring to the flooded situation in Ernakulam, where her house was completely inundated, and a video which she has posted where a child has been helped, rescued by the people in that area, where she has compared fate to rape, clearly says this clearly shows the mindset of the people, of the politician. We tried to reach the Congress MP, but they were not ready to react on this particular issue. But at last we can also see that today that Hebe Eden's wife has also apologized for this comment. This comes as a huge embarrassment for the not just for the MP but also for the party, especially because this is something which is not at all acceptable to someone, especially in the social media. You can see a widespread outrage to this particular comment that's been put by the MP's wife, and today she has also apologized on this particular
Vivek,
comment.
thank you so much for those updates. The Congress MP's wife now issuing a public apology after this rather distasteful and very crass post. Moving on now to an update. 4 months after 6 people were convicted in the 2018 rape and murder of an 8-year-old in Kathua village, a court has now directed the police to register an FIR against 6 members of the SIT, which probed the case for allegedly torturing and coercing witnesses to give false statements. My colleague Meenakshi Bhanja joining me on the phone line with more. Meenakshi, we understand this direction was given by the judicial magistrate to the police of Jammu on an application by the witnesses in the case, saying that these offences made against the 6 of them. So just take us through the details of this team specifically.
Well, that's right, Sanjana. It's a very significant development given the fact that the trial of the main case is presently underway. Remember, the matter was shifted out of Jammu and Kashmir to Punjab to Pathankot, to outside of Jammu. And today, this particular order, which has been pronounced on the 22nd of October, which is today, is something very serious because it is taking into account some of the averments that have been made by the applicants to this particular plea, where the court is also noting as to how there was a particular accused who was let off by the trial court, and this particular magistrate's court is also noting as to how that particular person who has been acquitted in this case was set up by this SIT. So this essentially, Sanjana, goes a very long way in sort of like vitiating the trial process, because if there are question marks on the SIT, which at the initial stage was probing the case, then surely this is something which can be used by the accused going forward in the trial. And that is the reason news is also coming in as to how the parents of the deceased child are quite upset with this particular development. Of course, we also know this, Sanjana, that they will have the option. These particular personnel of the SIT will also have the option of moving a superior court, seeking for quashing of the FIR in the foreseeable future. But as of now, it is a judicial order, judicial pronouncement, which is finding a lot of lapses in the manner in which evidence was proposed.
Right. Meenakshi, thank you so much for bringing us those updates. Now, the court ordering an FIR against the SIT, saying cognizable offences have been made out against the 6 of them, and has directed the registration of this FIR against the then SSP, ASP and Deputy Superintendents of Police. Thank you, Meenakshi, for those updates. And that's a wrap on The Last Word. Stay tuned. Keep watching Mirror Now.